Frank?
You just reminded me, as far as patient stories are concerned, by the way, the HIPAA thing does not matter as far as I'm concerned either. But one situation we had some years ago where a hospital had set up a press event with a patient who just underwent a stomach stapling procedure of some sort, and they had a limousine for this lady. She weighed, I think, 600 pounds. She came out weighing 400 pounds. It was a whole big media event with television, radio, newspapers, the whole works. And I got into the limousine with her and had the chance to do an interview with her. So that was a situation where this particular hospital and that particular doctor was able to get attention by orchestrating that kind of an event. And you know, I asked her first of all how she felt, and she said she felt like Cinderella for one thing, and you know, it was just a lovely, lovely lady. And then I asked her, how did it happen? You know, how did you get to weigh 600 pounds? She said, well, I have to admit, I love my church's chicken because it's so good. That's how she ended up weighing 600 pounds.
Jim and Deborah, is there anything else that can kill an otherwise viable story?
Inaccessibility to get specific details, or a local, in our case, a local angle. We're a little bit unusual from some of the other media because we're the Los Angeles Business Journal, which means our coverage essentially stops at the Orange Curtain. We do go a little bit into Ventura County, probably about as far as Camarillo, which enables us to cover Amgen, of course. But you know, we have to have a local angle. And it's always good to have local people. You know, one of the challenges I know that we have in covering some local companies here who have products in development and in trials is that often those trials don't take place here locally. And so if we're looking for a patient, it's always nice to have a patient or a lead, you know, a lead clinical doctor who's working on the study who happens to be, you know, one of the local UCLA or City of Hope or USC. So that's, you know, think about when you're approaching us for a story is that, you know, we are very, very local, and we want our stories to be local. To the extent that we talk to people outside of Southern California, it's probably the Wall Street analysts.
I would think another important thing to know is know how to sell your story in 10 seconds, because that's how much time we have to get people to watch. So if you can sort of boil down what your message is into, you know, 2 or 3 sentences, that'll be really helpful, and just put it at the top of your pitches. Well, you know, blind man sees again, or you know, whatever it is. But if you can, you know, just really boil it down to what the most important 10 seconds is, it'll be very helpful for you.
On the other hand, there's very few. Debbie said something about local media. Local media is pretty much all you have. Increasingly, first of all, radio and television. Local stations cover the people you are representing and your company. And, well, the national newspapers, there are 2 now, and they will cover, but not a whole lot. It's local stories, and then there are business journals in Orange County and San Diego. San Diego, by the way, does cover biomed very much, since that's the big industry. Or they know it down there. It's big here too, but maybe it doesn't get covered as much. You know, Jim, your comments segued into my next question. I want to assure all the panelists that this question is not directed at any of you, because you're actually here. But why do you suppose that the LA region doesn't get more love from local media when it comes to biotech and biomed? I mean, we have so many great universities and research institutions and arguably the largest biotech company in the world, and yet it doesn't seem to get a lot of attention. Why do you think that is?
I think people shy away from things that they don't understand, and again, I'm very sensitive to this. If you can boil it down into plain English, that would be a big help, and boil it down in terms of, you know, curing diseases or things that people can easily grasp. I think that would make a big difference in making it more media friendly, perhaps, and of greater interest to the general audience?
This is something I actually do know something about. I worked for Forbes magazine for 20 years also. I've worked for a lot of people. There is a shyness in the media. There was in the Los Angeles Times. They had a science reporter named Bob Holtz. He's now gone, but he complained that this is not even with the current regime. Maybe it's with the other regime too. They never sent him out to cover the universities. There are 100,000 stories in the universities around here. First of all, there's more research universities in Southern California than anywhere else in the country. You have institutes, you have Caltech, you just go down to USC or you go to UCLA and you got stories everywhere. They never sent him out to do that. They shy away from stories that are kind of, of that kind of, science stories, and so it's not done. The New York Times, God bless it, does have a science section every Tuesday and has kept this up for years. That's the kind of commitment. This is very important news. First of all, this industry, as this booklet here from that Ahmed handed out, this is one of the most important industries in this region and in this country. And there's a guy named Michael Milken who's very good with figures. And he says that this industry is the industry of the 21st century, and he's not the only one to say it. And that would mean the life science industries, which combine everything from, whatever. I've talked enough.
I would say access is very important. If you can show me what you see, the exciting things that you see, and you can find a way for us to be able to show that to our audience, that would be huge. A lot of what you may see is under a microscope. If you can connect your microscope to a monitor, just be able to help us see what you see, whatever excites you, so we can share that. And I think that's in a lot of bioscience stories, it's just so heady, and so much of what you know exists in your head only, and I have no way to illustrate that.
Yeah, I'll second what she says. Wow, I have a business audience. Predominantly, you all, and I'm sure that all you'll come up later and say, I love your newspaper, I read it every week. But since we only have a circulation of around 17,000, I do kind of think it's sometimes a little online. Predominantly our audience are folks in the banking and real estate industries. We do have some life science folks who do subscribe. So a lot of our coverage is geared toward the kind of stories that they're going to be interested in. I have to cover stories from the angle of what kind of stories are they going to be interested in, either from their own personal interest in healthcare themselves, or what are they learning about what you are doing in running your business that they can use to run their business. That's one of the things that we're also interested in too.
I was thinking when listening to some of your introductions, you may be experts in things that are a little bit far removed from what you do every day, and that could be interesting to us. You make clean rooms. You might know something about hospital infections, and you might be able to comment when these, horrendous. There was somebody who makes radiation mitigation devices. That's a huge issue now. I mean, just the whole issue of diagnostic radiation and what kind of harm that might bring to us. It would be good to pitch yourself as an expert in that, or cell phone radiation. Do you know anything about that? So just sort of, thinking of yourself in terms of a broader area of expertise than just your narrow focus every day.
Ahmed, how are we doing on time?
Are you doing fine?
Okay.
Can I ask questions?
Absolutely. I got one more, and then we'll open it up. For the entire panel, we talked a little bit. This is not a social media panel, but with the advent of social media and all the media consolidation going on, how is that affecting your outlet, and what does it mean for the people in this room?
As far as I'm concerned, this is the best social networking site in this room here tonight. Nothing beats personal contact, personal connection, and certainly that helps a great deal.